overall, when it came to what is playing Korean solo queue, there was definitely some zigs there, so don't count it out.
Well, if they have enough physical damage, Kayn could be enough for that one. Of course, you still need to balance your team compositions out. Keep in mind, this guy had done very well on Kayn despite it being a loss last week. Plus 31 CSD at 15. He had smashed the jungle using Trist and Twitch off the table. Typical physical damage marksman, but again, if that Ziggs is in there, it's available.
Yeah, and do they wait until the last pick to surprise here? They may well, because they could still get value out of a counter pick, but you never know with Gigabyte Marines if they have a strategy around an odd bot lane.
And we were smiling around the Ziggs earlier, and maybe it won't be Ziggs in the end. I actually wouldn't have been the worst choice against Janna, so when it comes to later games, perhaps we'll see it, but it's going to be the much more standard Ashe in this game.
And honestly, like, Ashe isn't even that standard of a pick anymore, right? The strategy that everyone is picking, that everyone thinks is the best composition, is these Trists, the Twistanas, the Kog'Maws, the Zais, right? These hyper carries, the multi-target, long-range, high burst, and Ashe is almost an afterthought in this sort of phase of League of Legends right now. You rarely see the utility marksman.
Yeah, and looking over at what Immortals is doing, they're building a defensive fortress for whatever Gigabyte Marines is going to throw at them. A lot of Marine strategies around going fast, enabling other picks, and trying to attack a point of weakness. With Shen, John, and Gragas, the disengage and shielding is immense.
And that is certainly a read on Immortals comp, but it's also reactionary potentially to a fault. This is the sort of comp where when it comes to priority, we're not going to be anywhere. And that is our first Urgot here. And when it comes to losing lanes here, Jat, there might actually be a worry here for the Immortals.
Well, you can ban one undead monstrosity from Noxus, but you've got another one coming in here with Urgot for Archie in the top lane. I'm so excited.
The question is, will Archie be able to pull this stuff off? Because he is the guy now that has been put on the Mordekaiser and been put on the Urgot. And when you talk about Archie, he's not this mechanical god who's going to smash lanes, but that's what is needed to succeed with Urgot. You have to slam ahead of the Shen if you want split push priority in the mid or late game.
And we're already assuming that it won't be a 1v2 Urgot. He is very strong in the 1v1, so I see that. But I also think back to IEM's way back when with blue buff Urgots doing crazy things. We're never sure with the Gigabyte Marines. This is another 1 or 2 of in his solo queue account. But when it comes to this man, Archie's willing to try anything.
And I love and respect teams willing to do this. You get enough games to understand the important points of it and say, okay, we understand the inflection points, the matchups, the way the team comp runs. We know you don't know it. There is no way Immortals has scrimmed against Urgot top with his composition. That's gotta be impossible. So I want to see then what kind of expertise we're going to see come out of Gigabyte Marines, because they are the biggest innovators at Worlds this year. Bring out another one.
And when it comes to the nodes, we said Song is so great at preparation. This is definitely diving into supplementary nodes. This is really going to the extra innings, because you have to say, like Freak, they're going to be thrown off at least a little bit.
Gotta see what the innovation is going to be. It's going to be so much fun. Gigabyte Marines and Immortals. The battle for the 2nd seed, most likely out of the group. See which team can do it here. 2-1 record versus 1-2 record for these two squads. We get ourselves ready to go onto the Rift for the first game of the day, as we're going to figure out which will be the 2 representatives from Group B at the end of it all.
Yeah, and when you're thinking about the Gigabyte Marines in this team composition, you're going to have a lot of questions about how are they going to play the early game? Are they going to be doing any crazy jungle patterns? Or are the weird champion picks enough? No one else is playing Kayn at this level. No one else is playing Urgot at this level. There's already a lot different than Immortals has to account for.
But Immortals' read so far is they feel like they don't have to do what crib nodes from what Longzhu did when they were on the blue side against potential innovation from Gigabyte Marines. There we saw the aggressive 2 wards placed on the blue side of Gigabyte Marines, right very deep to spot any lane swaps. Because they see the Kayn, they're expecting power farm. They're not expecting anything other than standard lanes. They go for a 5-point defense, which Fnatic did as well. On that day, Fnatic was punished. On this day, it should be fine for the side of Immortals.
We'll see what comes out of this one. River Wards, and it's going to be they know Xmithie is likely to start at his blue buff. He's staying in vision. I didn't see if he saw the ward go down, but he's now cheating away, and it's like he can make it to Raptors in time if he wants to. Maybe he was hoping to give misinformation, and he will be, of course, getting the leash from his bot side. Wait to see what Archie wants to do alongside Levi.
Last time these teams played, Immortals tried a late invade from the red side, which resulted in Olay trying to make an initiation on Rakan, giving up first blood and also burning multiple flashes. This time, it's the Gigabyte Marines making late invade to try to disrupt this Raptor start.
See if they can steal away. If they get rid of 2, they get the level disappointed. And actually looks like 2 CS for Zia means it will not be an easy level for Xmithie here, losing 2 of those small Raptors.
Yeah, he has 2 biscuits on the side of Cinder, just a refillable potion on Pobelter, so not a huge sustained difference with the harass they took. It will slow down Xmithie, but I don't think by that much. The big thing, though, is the difference that this creates between Levi and Xmithie. Kane is a unique jungler in the fact that he can start Raptors and clear them extremely fast, even without a pulse. So Gigabyte Marines using that to their advantage.
But then you just listen to what you're saying, Jack. You say, okay, a little bit of an advantage to Levi. We already said Shen versus Urgot, big advantage Urgot in the lane. Syndra should have the tempo over Ryze in the mid lane and the bot lane. Even if you look at the items, it's Relic Shield and refillable against Doran's Shield and the more active start of going for the potion. So 3 losing lanes. Xmithie, okay, a half step on the back foot, but still on the back foot. This is the sort of games where if Gigabyte Marines purport to play standard, which largely they have here, they should be able to get a sizable advantage in the early game.
But they did a different look on the scaling of it, right? The meta game that everyone's playing is get the better late game, get the hyper carry, and Marines said, no, we're going to draft for advantageous matchups in all 4 roles, all 4 lanes essentially. If you count the jungle as one of them, Levi gonna jump over and take away Krugs. He's got him, but the rest of these camps are gone. But he does take away Krugs and he steals some farm.
Yeah, well, this is actually very much a route pattern that you see someone do from the blue side of the map. So often you get the Raptor start, which then often ends with the counter jungle of the enemy Krugs at the end of it. But Levi has flipped that around and done that strategy from the red side because that's what Kane can do. Ole spotted them, but the camp is gone.
And it was important for him to go there, though there was no early vision down. He'll jump over and pop over, does Levi. But that was the only information they had about Levi's route, just from the eyes on by Ole.
The thing I want to point out actually is, again, talking about the ways the Gigabyte Marines versus the way Immortals plays. Ardent Sensor, no surprise, has been the item of the tournament. Everyone's rushing it. Every single team has bought Ardent Sensor. Marines are the slowest team to buy this item of all the squads that rode so far in the group stage. Now that some of that could have been their other support pick, their other player, but now with Sia, it maybe it's going to be more different. That said, they are right now smashing bot lane in farm via playing a more aggressive duo.
Yeah, and speaking of aggression, Archie's trying to get very touchy up top lane.
There's the top. Bodyfun's going to land for sure. There's no way out anymore. The slow is on. He pops bridge, goes for the leap, and Mike is going to wait, force a couple flash down, and you got to be kidding me! Archie's not going to die! Immortals don't get the damage in, and Archie survives the encounter. Now Levi in a 1v2 doesn't want to chase any farther, but that's 2 flashes down for 1 in a survival.
Exactly, still has teleport, will be able to shop and go buy items. That's a huge laning phase win here early for the Marines.
And even bigger than it might appear at first, because Xmithie and Flame both flashed, didn't pick up the kill. Urgot flashless against a Shen with flash would have to play so respectful in lane. He wants to overextend to get those big EQ trades. Now he's going to have to play just sideways. He can continue to play aggressively because he knows a lot of the playmaking tools are down.
And Oscar's getting a lot of damage in a Pobelter here. Of course, Summoner heal is up, means no reason to dive, but it is a forced recall out with a 10 CS lead.
Levi might go for him. He does have flash.
Here he comes, Gragas is around, though. Xmithie in the fog lands. The body slam, no turret. No, there is turret. Aggro takes 1 shot. Gonna jump to the wall, but there's the damage output. And they're gonna get first blood coming through the rune prison in time. Pobelter, 400 gold richer.
And a very big mistake by Levi there, evaporating the pressure that Optimus had created in that mid lane. Sure, they get the summer spells off and they'll need to return gank, but that was a very large lead Optimus was building that he could invade with Levi for. And that's mostly gone now.
Even mechanically, it wasn't clean. The first turret shot he took when he was peeking out, investigating whether he could dive, was more than he could hope to bear. Did not choose to disengage. Gives away a kill in the mid lane. We're going to see the replay. If you watch here, he's not taking turret aggro now. Takes the first shot, and Xmithie being there is the big factor.
Exactly. He could have gone for Pobelter and at least looked to bait out summoners, but he has no deep vision with which to understand where Xmithie would be. Even though Xmithie had burned flash in the top lane, it didn't matter. Xmithie was still on the rift. He still hasn't shown.
Running around the map with enough farm to be okay. Nice little trade on a Cody's Sun going down to 400 HP as the Marines bot lane still up 10 farm and seeming to punish the more aggressive choices. Archie now in a 1v1, is Xmithie now making it 2. Running into the turret, he'll stay alive.
I think we should also talk about another member of the Immortals, because we had a little verbiage towards Pobelter earlier. Flame is someone who has come to this tournament with decent expectations, good season, largely playing a pretty small champion pool over in the NALCS. If you remember, when he was on just getting through lane duty on the Maokai, actually did very competitive against the Jovrin coming through in that game from Khan. In this game also, he's actually ahead in CS in a very difficult matchup against the Urgot. His ability to sustain difficult matchups is actually a compliment to Flame. playing.
Exactly, because during the regular season, he was a Jarvan Renekton player for the vast majority of his games. So far here, it has been Jace, Maokai, and now the second Shen. And he's up against a pick that no one really plays in professional play. One game from the new Urgot in the LCL, which is the CIS region, in a loss. That's all that has happened since the Urgot rework. So you're not even really prepared for these situations. You still have to adapt.
And just so you guys are clear, this is the spot you want to play Urgot into against a melee tank matchup that you can basically crush unless you have a big disadvantage in terms of jungle pressure or if your flash is down, for example. So this is set up to succeed for Archie. So anything less than a pretty decent CS lead is not going to be useful outside of in the 1v1 because Urgot still not a fantastic team fighter.
Speaking of CS, you can still look at that scoreboard on the bottom. Mid lane and bot lane still looking very good for Marines. I do want to point out that Levi's farm lead is a bit misleading. He's gotten a lot of the smaller camps with multiple members on it. So the plus 14 is actually only barely up in gold compared to what the first blood would have given Xmithie in the first place. So he's not smashing as much as the scoreboard would indicate. The rest of the lanes, though, very good in mid and bot.
Yeah, only up 50 gold in that spot, but it is very much Levi's style to heavily prioritize the Raptor camp and the Krug camp because the number of monsters in the jungle is what determines how often you can get that catch-up experience, because over in the GPL, he absolutely obliterates people and then he denies them the catch-up experience by getting those camps. This game, there's none to be had because the average level of the jungle camps is not above the average level of the jungle.
The fight into the jungle, though, the two of them coming in through. Here comes the Shen to re-engage. The 2-on-2 about to join junglers and top laners. A taunt is across. And can they knock down Ark? He's going to try to get the damage across the ulti, but they kill him in time. So the trade kill comes through for Levi. That was nearly a fear beyond death kill across. Now the mid laner's in as well as Optimus now running for his life. He's a bit low, 400 HP. Xmithie still on the chase. Levi putting in the damage as well, has the mana pool to keep going. Xmithie in the 1-on-1 still going against Optimus as well. Who's going to get it? The flash, the chase, and the knockback is there. The barrel not going to get the kill. It's a 2-for-1 trade advantage, Gigabyte Marines.
Decision there for Xmithie was to go for the kill, left his mid laner completely in the lurch, died with heal up, knew he would not get out. The consistent DPS of these melee assassins like the Kayn will just take you down.
And Ole got to go for the kill. Summoner heal for movement speed. Flash for the knockup. The Zephyr auto attack. No! And he's going for the play. They're going to get the kill. Ole sets him up and Xmithie knocks him down.
The fact that they burned so much to then what looked like nearly missed it when the barrel landed was amazing sidestepping by Optimus. And that entire fight was pretty much just Levi and Optimus saying they can take him, right? Immortals goes for the initial play with the stand united, but when the initial burst of the 3-on-3 ends with both top laners dying, it just turns into jungle versus mid laner duels on both sides.
And consider what Pobelta actually is able to do this fight. A bit of damage onto Optimus, but he cannot walk past Levi. He is only ever going to lose, even with blue buff in these early levels, not enough base damage on the spells. So eventually he's going to be out-traded by Pobelta as Xmithie has only eyes for Optimus, but it required much more to actually pick up the kill after the highlight clip went over.
Yeah, and this early game, very competitive between the Marines and Immortals. There has been a lot shifted in the general game flow thanks to the jungle pass of Levi. But where we should draw our attention is actually the bottom lane, where Noe and Sia are doing quite well in that matchup.
But the issue with competitive is that Gigabyte Marines did not pick for competitive. They picked to smash early game, and they're not doing that. It's 200 gold lead to Gigabyte Marines after the last trade-up they did on the fighting. So with the picks they have, with the game plan they have, Immortals are more than happy to come in basically competitive with a team with Urgot, who is really built for the early game.
Yeah, they're playing the meta game composition. They're playing the standard stuff. Gold only 300 apart, and you have to imagine the late game scaling is better unless there's something we don't know about Urgot. You don't imagine he's going to smash the late game, although maybe it's possible. It's just kind of hard to say.
Yeah, and as we can see, Pobelter has been getting camped by many other mid laners and hadn't died before 15 until this game.
Good plans. Call him captain for that one. Nice knock up there in Levi. Not going to find much more. Out they go.
Appreciate a little shout out there.
Yeah, of course.
It was.
I love me some 80 carries. Captain Jack, a true legend in my mind.
I would go so far as to say the best player to never make worlds. He had a very impressive career, couldn't get there. We'll cut off the Captain Jack shout-out. It is the first turret of the game for Gigabyte Marine.
And that's the payoff, though. Farm lead 17, not huge. 200 gold individually, not huge. That turret is what the payoff is for. Again, you say picking the metagame composition with the scaling versus the Marines going for early pressure in every single lane. That's the payoff. First turret into an 1130 Infernal Drake. This is the start of what this comp wants to do.
Yeah, straight up winning. We're wondering if Immortals compositions would be reactive to a fault. That bottom lane with the Relic Shield start is not going to win against Ashe Lulu. Ashe had not been played in the group stage up until until now, is an extremely strong early laner, and now Levi's looking for Pobelter again.
Nice stun. The damage up going to be as slow as in. There's almost no way out for Pobelter. The ulti's not going to be in range for Levi. Flashes to get in, but the damage going to be low. Still gets it anyway. Blue smite. It's personal on that one. Levi takes him down.
And that's the bonus. That's the cherry on the top of the bot lane turret into the Infernal. Getting the kill mid lane as well. Pobelter, complemented in stats, complemented earlier in this cast for absorbing pressure. Him going down there is definitely an upsie.
And he got counterpicked. Keep in mind, the Syndra was blinded first round red side, and Pobelter said, okay, Ryze is my matchup, let's go for that one. And right now, Optimus and Levi are punishing for it.
This Immortals draft is very similar to what a lot of Korean teams and a lot of teams in general at this tournament have been playing. Outscale, we'll get there. Twitch Janna, one of the prized bot lanes. This is what teams have been picking, but when you go all out in the early game, your thought, and definitely in earlier metas it would have been easier. In this meta, it's harder to close out. It's on the Gigabyte Marines to keep up this pace.
Also notable, always difficult to choose your summoner spells against Syndra. Goes for the heal rather than the cleanse. It gives time for Levi to chain off of the CC from Optimus and then chase through for the extra damage that the heal could not absorb.
Kind of unlucky by Pobelter as well. He didn't know if he should expect flash to Levi or not. He flashed late when the ulti was already cast, so Umbral Trespass came through. And that's a bit rough to lose your flash when he's already caught you, but that's the breaks.
Exactly. For as much as we praised Pobelter for being able to absorb pressure in the first 3 games of group stage, deathless in the first 15 minutes despite having all that jungle pressure against him. 2 deaths now in the first 13 minutes and a massive CS differential in the favor of Optimus. A lot of that is the matchup, but a lot of that is Levi as well.
Now Immortals are more in the hole you would have expected given the draft. They are now behind a sizable goal lead, 2,000 at 13 minutes, nothing to turn your nose up to. But again, we've learned
meaningful.
Average game time can be long at this Worlds. This is the sort of game where in the late game, you look at Immortals and you think the game can only go one way. So now it's really back to the loss minimization time for Immortals because they are largely reactive.
Also, the last time we saw Levi play Kayn, he did Black Cleaver second into Red Kayn. This build is telling me he might be going for the blue one.
Ooh,
that's big words there. Oh.
Building up forward, as long as he attacks range champions, kill Pobelter a lot. Here's a bit of more burst damage onto the Ryze, but a shield gets him away. He's going to stay up there. Smithy going to keep the lane up. This definitely does look like it's going to be more Assassin Kayn. We'll see if he can get through the Janna.
He got so many hits on a Pobelter with the 2 kills. It's a high probability, I feel like.
Remember, the transform was very slow also in that game against Immortals, so we'll keep track of what...
I think he's... Never mind.
He's getting there.
I think he's actually already blue Kayn.
Oh, but we can't tell on the spectator.
I think the side one isn't. Yeah, because his icons are all blue now. I think he's already blue Kayn here in this one. I don't think very much. Here comes the fight on the top lane. Arrow going to miss. Goes a bit more chase onto that. And you can see if he ever moves while casting W, it's definitely blue Kayn.
He already did transform, so our mistake with that reference.
Well, there you go.
Correct, I predicted it.
Nice prediction, Jack.
And that's another turret going down.
I think Urgot will be picked this game.
But beautiful stuff, but again, the payoff continues. The Gigabyte Marines, you can see mid-turret's already low, top one already fell. It's not in always the CS numbers, in the farm numbers, but the turret pressure, the early game still going their way.
And I think a lot of analysts were hoping and praying that comps that play the early game could get there. They could see the return of the Alistair that Gigabyte Marines tried. But here comes the action.
A big slow on a 2 of them, good long range as well. Out they go, and the Riftfield will not even really get back the damage that was dealt during the laning phase by Optimus in mid lane.
The game being solved as only playing defensive is one read on the first week. Gigabyte Marines trying to have a different read. Longzhu speed running their way through Worlds. We're hoping that proactivity can still win in the risk-reward trade. Gigabyte Marines certainly took a lot of risks. You can see the Urgot and know they've done that. But at least this time, it's actually paying off against Immortals, who so far have been just too reactive and a half step behind. And it's a lead grown by Gigabyte Marines.
Absolutely is. Right now, the number is only 2,500. It is large, but not insurmountable. Want to point out some things that have been chosen right here. Cody's son actually going for a Wit's End early. It is a faster power spike item. It's 1,000 gold cheaper than a Rage Blade. It allows him to amp up the magic damage of Pobelter because the item has a magic damage shred. So the Immortals bot lane online a little bit earlier, if not optimal late game scaling, but trying to combat that a little bit. Also want to point out there's no tank for Marines right now. It's an Urgot building a Cleaver as the heaviest front line. That team fight's going to be hard.
Yeah, and also no way going Blade of the Ruin King, so I feel like that also counters the Wit's End power spike in a small way instead of some of the slower Infinity Edge builds we've seen. So these guys are very much online now when they're meeting, and I think Immortals needs to make sure that they don't get snowballed on, because that's Gigabyte Marines' game. If this game goes 40 minutes and the gold difference is still 3,000, we feel like Immortals just groups up as 5 and wins the team fight.
So my read on how Gigabyte Marines will want to play this game, because it's the sort of thing we have to spitball a little bit. The parts here have certainly not been put together in the LCK, certainly, but even at Worlds. playing around the 1v1 power of specifically this man on your screen, Archie, on the Urgot, a dueling champion, and having Kayn invade and also put down control wards on his side of the jungle. I think winning 2v2s against a fed Kayn and Urgot sounds terrifying. So playing around his pressure, which has been difficult. We remember Cube being completely shut out of that game against 1907 Fenerbahce on the last match day of week 1. Playing around a very oppressive 1v1 top laner, to me, is my read on how Gigabyte Marines could grow this league.
We'll see if they can do it right now. The Armor Shred going to help with the assassins on the team as well. Levi waiting in the jungle right now.
Yeah, and I also see, when thinking about the metagame or what Gigabyte Marines is doing, the champions can change, but the core strategies throughout time in League of Legends do stay mostly the same. And this is the most similar to actually the Spring Split meta, where you had the Ashe, Varus, Jhin, AD carries with heavy damage dealers in the jungle and potentially split push tops. That's what they're going to be trying to do, which is initiation with the Ashe arrow around the jungler trying to carry the back end of team fights and assassinating carries.
We're going to see the arrow, of course, it missed, but they're not with a lot of vision in the jungle. I'm not sure if he even saw it, but thankfully was not in the right spot to get hit. That could have been a dive from Optimus. Now mid lane pressure in for Immortals, 3 men strong, and with the power of dogs, that will indeed fall. I don't believe he got local goal, but here comes Levi on the backside.
Yeah, he wants to flank, but with Ashe arrow down, it's very difficult to lock someone from Immortals.
And also now, with mid turret down first, it gets harder for Gigabyte Marines to use, say, top lane pressure with Urgot and parlay it into a Baron. Getting Baron control when you don't have mid priority, the ability to push through mid, have the minions sent down, get easier access to deep wards is not a trivial thing. They'll probably get there eventually. The turret is low, but it is another thing to slow down Gigabyte Marines.
Another fight now in the jungle. Looks like Immortals want to go back into this one and see if they can get themselves the kill. Humble Trespass, he's going to get away, flashed over the wall, stays alive for now. Here comes the Rise open to join in though. Nice 2-man slow, and Levi going to get out, trades away with the ultimate.
So slippery, and that type of reaction from Immortals now actually gets rid of a lot of their proactivity. No Realm Warp, no Shen ultimate. It's very difficult now for Immortals to make a play.
And Archie gets free time in the top lane. You're looking at Sia and Noe walk up as well. The whimsy to get them there faster. And that play cost them most of, if not the entire top lane tier 2 turret.
Gigabyte Marines are not interested in matching. They are looking to innovate. They are looking to be proactive. Not quite the turret down yet. A lot of people coming out. The cavalry here for Immortals. I like what they've done to try to push through mid, but that's really the only thing you can smile about on the side of the Immortals when it comes to the first 20 minutes. We're kind of just watching all the tempo be created by the Gigabyte Marines. We're seeing the shot come through. Gonna keep pushing out. Levi looking strong as well. 2 items, pretty sick.
Yeah, almost doubling the farm of Xmithy right now. Individual gold-wise, he's up a solid 1,100. So you're seeing that jungle matchup look very good. Levi has been a huge point of power for Gigabyte Marines. His early games continue to be very good, and there's a reason he gets so much of the praise on this squad. He's continuing it here on the world stage against one of North America's best. Xmithy was the best jungler by pretty much all accounts in North America, and Levi has been outplaying him largely in this game.
At least in his ability to farm. If it wasn't for the counter gank in the mid lane of Xmithy, this could also be a much larger lead for Levi. So sometimes that aggression from Levi has turned against him. And it's gonna be a struggle for Marines throughout this game, because it's the battle to keep the map spread out and only group on their schedule. Because one reason that Janna has been rising in popularity here at the World Group Stage is how strong she is in team fights.
Yep.
It feels like with Ardent Censor in these team fights, the engage always gets stuffed, and then everyone gets applied with the buff. Not to mention, Gigabyte Marines don't have your traditional team fighting compositions. So these are the fights they want.
Ooh, Xmithy forced to jump away as well, and heal burn by Pobelter. So 2 more summoners down from Immortals. Gigabyte Marines able to get those little schedules going and find advantages.
But what the Marines need to do is find a way to finish off the very low health turret in mid lane. Makes these Soda plays so much more reliable. Usually deep vision, and Levi poking around the back might actually get Cody-san and Olay to move out. Notice that Cody-san with his cheaper build has 2 items already, has Hurricane. Very hard to push him through. They're going for Pobelter.
They're going to find the slow. He's got the Realm Warp, but no Zhonya's no flash. The stun's going to land anyway, and the kill goes to Levi. He's on a rampage. 4 straight kills for him after the first blood. 3,000 gold lead, and now pressure continues onto this one. Finny going to join the top lane now to try to push out Archie if he can get away with this. Flame getting a bit low. The flash, the taunt going to be there as well. They might have the burst damage. The fear beyond death not quite going to come through. No, it is. He's going to eat him. No, but he's going to get the kill. He's going to get the Terrify. The duo lane comes back in. Ole gets the kill credit, unluckily for them.
But
look at the bot lane.
So much. They they never responded to the Marines push bottom.
Come on,
Tutor is
Jana
down.
just walked there slowly. Levi, that's going to power this down.
That inhibitor almost definitely going to fall. Immortals have lost 2 with Powelter dying earlier. Smithy cannot stop this easily. Levi gonna wait, make it happen? No, they don't quite have the time for it. Now Optimus got to be in danger. He's taking the auto attack.
No flash on Optimus. He does have a Lulu, though.
Here's the Lulu and the knock-up, and they're all going to be okay, but that was close. Inhibitor stays alive.
And you might think that not taking down the inhibitor is the critical factor, but in all of this, they do get mid lane outer. They get more control over the map. Immortals now only have the dregs of map pressure. Gigabyte Marines, they've got everything.
And what's so surprising to me about the way these plays are happening is the lack of vision control that Immortals has had for Marines to make those plays. Like when Pobelter starts that fight at the bottom lane, they had no vision within their jungle to see the path from Levi or Optimus before they died. And then they sent far too many people up to the top side. They only needed 2 to secure that kill, so to speak. Still, even backfires on them because Flame underestimated the damage from Archie's Urgot.
Definitely did underestimate. I want to point out, actually, we talk about adaptation, knowing the matchup. Bramble Vest, I think, is a must-buy item if you're a tank playing against Urgot. When he hits Purge, the W, he attacks 3 times a second and does 1/3 damage, but takes full damage from on hit effects like Bramble Vest. It hard wins the matchup. He didn't buy it here.
We're gonna get the replay. My big takeaway was Optimus on point with the interrupt onto the Realm Warp and then easily killed from there. I think the decision is what we talk about. Honestly, the mini-map to me is the most interesting thing. It's 2 people onto Urgot, but Jana and Cogmore coming along as a duo.
Yeah, if I had to guess, Immortals was thinking about getting this kill and trying to turn immediately for Baron for an inhibitor trade, but the kill took so long to materialize, and then they lost Shen, because in a world where they get the kill, he could either teleport down bottom to try and defend that when Pobelter respawns, but that's just not what ended up happening. Archie outplayed.
Lost the maximum in many ways there. Immortals getting actual control onto Baron to make a similar play again. Looks almost impossible. Archie's in the base.
Gonna keep pulling for a bit more into this one, but it's really gonna join in on the fray. The question is, how much does this pressure matter against the top lane priority towards Baron? Right now, it's an easy walk away.
And the best thing here is Archie's like, well, Smite's not around, so whatever you want to contest, if he's drawing specifically Xmithy to the bot side, the playmaking, the Smite are all denied. So running him specifically around the map is just fine for the Urgot.
Yeah, and I'm waiting for Immortals to try and send Ryze down there to stop Archie, because I believe Ryze in the Shen could win and then still try and prevent the Baron threat. But the longer they wait for that play, the higher the threat becomes to go for Archie, because the faster Marines will be able to kill Baron with more items.
And damage calculation is something that's second nature to casters, to players. We know how much damage people take and people do. When it's Urgot, a champion, you see a lot less. That timing can be off, and the timing needs to be on because it's not teleport from Ryze. It's just going to have to be the Realm Warp. So if they take too long, the Baron damage is huge from Gigabyte Marine.
And it's going to be Immortal starting it in the face of a ward. Watch out, Cody's son! He's almost going to die. Gets the shield at the last second, but he's still so low on HP. Got to get away from this one.
Even before the ultimate comes through, he's already out of the fight. Levi just has to get in range.
He's got to deal damage, then land the ulti. If he lands a skill shot in the first place, Cody is probably just dead anyway. Explosive cast does not bring Optimus where Immortals wanted him. Now finally some life steal as Cody's son gets a bit of health back.
We see Urgot pushing in the face of Shen, basically saying, you can't lead. I will take the inhibitor for free. Loses most of his health bar. Cannot ult onto the Cogmore. Critical moment now for Immortals.
And this is what Immortals is trying to pull off the Ryze play bottom lane, but they're actually should be
There's
going
the
for
stun,
Baron.
there's the burst. This could be the kill to Xmithy. The damage up, but not quite there. No ulti. Gonna do enough damage now. Now Ole gonna force to run away. Gets smited, slowed down by Levi. Not gonna land the W. Slow, but still on the chase. Ulti to buy a little bit more distance. He's gonna have the auto attack. Powelter gonna go for the kill. Can't quite get him just yet. Finally, actually just running away and dying. You're right. So Flame not getting anything. 2 for 0 now. Gigabyte Marines on an almost uncontestable Baron.
He may not be the best team fighter, but 1v2, he can do dirty things. Takes down the Ryze. This Baron's free.
Well, Xmithy has Smite. He's done it so well in North America, but he's getting shot down by Ash. The flash to chase down. No way, says no way for you. And the Baron goes down, picked up. Now Cody's son, but he's up against Barrier. Only picks up 1 kill. Can he trade with no way? Got surprise, says no. Too much life steal.
And that sequence of events is how Marines get you sometimes, because the fact that Immortals then sent Pobelter down bottom, couldn't even deal with Archie then, and then having the play fall apart on the other side, and almost as a desperation, Xmithy tries to steal when he had no business, is just adding more fuel to the fire, making this lead potentially insurmountable.
I mean, this fire is ablaze, chat. There's no other word to say about it. Once again, they're going to turn to the Urgot. It's 3 bad guys this time.
Well, the
flash
is just back up right now. If he gets him into a quarter HP, Archie gets the kill with his ultimate. The chase is in. Stun's going to land in a poke bouncer. That could be dangerous. Oh, they get away, though, and no. Just the flash, the arrow down. Marines still sit with that Baron.
Just not enough damage to take down Archie, who just completed a War Mog's armor. Such a big sequence of events there, and as casters, we almost want to take a breath here. It's like, wow, let's reset the game. But if you're looking at Immortals, you don't have time to reset the game. Marines is already making the next play. They have Baron minions in the bottom lane. They have a minion wave up top while No Way is catching the wave mid lane. So they're just going to keep setting up this Urgot play, and the minion waves have been pushed for the last 15 minutes.
And it's exactly what the draft told us. Lane priority was everywhere. Gigabyte Marines, Smithy lost. Tempo in the early game was on the back foot as well. But this time, Gigabyte Marines have profited the maximum from it. I love seeing the proactive team carry through leads. Now, they haven't won the game yet. We already had 1907 Fenerbahce get so close against Samsung. But so far, they've shown that if you play with tempo, you can actually get a big lead.
It's going to take a lot for Immortals to get back into this game right now. Third Drake in a row picked up by Marines. Mountain adds to the elemental suite here for them. As another turret had fallen to Archie, splitting in the top side.
Yeah, and it's important to note that Immortals is so far behind the item curves right now. There's an Infinity Edge as well as crit and attack speed onto No Way, who has the Lulu powering him up. Much like in the way Marines beat Fnatic. Yes, it was crazy in the early game, but by late game, it was a fed Triss Lulu, right? And here, they have a fed Ashe Lulu plus the CC from Syndra. So they're going to keep split pushing, but the things that they are strong, the places where they have the gold, are very effective at using.
So they keep going into this one. Flame going for some magic resist himself. He's going to stop scaling against that Archie Urgot here. Look at that poke on towards the Smithy, who got magic with his, armor himself and is so weak to the Syndra. Bot lane push coming through. Levi and Co going to knock that one down. First inhibitor falls, 28-30 into the game. Back in the mid lane, Noah getting the attack to the turret. No one's threatening him. That turret's down to about 1/4 now. Levi gets away with some wards and looks for the next play.
Just to be a fly in around the particular Immortal place to know when they're going to actually pull the trigger. When are they actually going to say, we've given up enough, we need to fight now? We still haven't seen it, and they've lost most of their base.
We're talking about when. We also have to talk about how, because they can't kill Archie with more than 3 people, with less than 2 people. Sorry, less than 3. When they've tried to, it hasn't worked.
Oh, knock up onto Syndra, the damage up, but almost there. The stun's going to land. Cody's stun cleanses. Lackadaisically just still gets away with it. A heal from Ole. Now there's going to be the reset fight. Redemption putting off to his back to basically full health, and all that engage means nothing now as Gigabyte Marines look for the next play. Poulter at half HP. Stun's going to land. This could be a kill to Smithy. Redemption by a few more seconds. The ulti's going to keep him alive just a barely little bit, but Archie knocks on the top lane turret. Another trade comes down into the mid lane. They're going to chase on it. This one Cody's blasting away. They might get the kill, and Levi's going to pop in for a bit more time, though, and jump right back out. He will stay alive. No snipe's going to be coming through, and the Fear Beyond Death knocks down Flames. He snuffs them out like a candle. This is going to be all the inhibitors falling shortly. His top lane going to drop as well. Bot lane's already gone. And it's now just the base remaining 5v4.
Yeah, it's a 3-inhib cycle with no flame, and Marines doesn't seem like they're letting up.
Bodies Sam comes in, but they don't have the follow-up damage. Not just yet. Anyway, looking for a couple of shots onto Lulu, but unlike his predecessor has flash this time around, walks away cleanly, and Immortals just going to have to farm super minions now as Gigabyte Marines going to leave the base.
A lot of the champions Immortals have chosen in this game have been staples of the metagame in the group stage of Worlds. But together, against a team willing to play proactive, just like you said, Jack, what does an initiation look like? What is the right use of a Shen ultimate? It's being used to save low health members, not playmate like Impact was praised for. We're going to see the replay here. They look helpless here, and you see how the ultimate is used. They get no value out of Shen.
Yeah, and even when they were in the mid lane, Urgot was taking the turret over on the top side, so Gigabyte Marines is actually playing this fight as patiently as they can, just trying to poke people down low so that Urgot can execute with his ultimate. They pull it off.
There's order in the chaos of the Gigabyte Marines when they look best. Are the picks unconventional? Yes.
Sure.
They have many different titles thrown at them. But when they actually do plays like that on the first look, you're like, it's just craziness. The ordered chaos is allowing them to trade up every time. There is not free kills outside of the one donated to Pobelta by Levi much earlier in the game.
Gotta say, it's beautiful to watch a team like Gigabyte Marines. I don't think you can call a game like this cheese. It's looking at the metagame saying, I know what you want to play. We've got our own style for this one. Now look at the play in the mid lane. See ya. Slow down. Explosive Cascade is going to find the target. That's a kill picked up. Set up by Xfinity, and the kill going to go over to Cody's son. Does need that money going towards his next tanky item, but look at the base though. It's getting knocked down by Archie. Now it's a 5v4 in the map. There's not much left that really Marines can push. They gotta look for this on the top side.
But how fast can they kill Archie versus how fast can the rest of the Marines collapse on Immortals? Here they come.
And you're seeing them split up now. Both are gonna run away. Here comes the backline axe. Son. He gets the shield, he gets the heal, he's gonna stay alive. They're not gonna knock him down. They get rid of the Guardian Angel, but the turrets are dead for the Nexus. This could be just a base rush now. They knock down X50. They get one trade kill back on the Levi. 4v3 on the map. Phobos are gonna get knocked down, a double kill. And the Hellstone kill Urgot. The minions are there. Urgot cannot die. He will not be stopped. And this will be Gigabyte Marines improving 2-2. They tied the head-to-head. And this is the game that had to happen if Marines want to make top 8. They've done step 1.
They just made the day so much more interesting. This keeps pretty much every group possibility alive.
The casting group woke up early in the morning, had breakfast, and said, this group might be settled after 2 games. Gigabyte Marines were not at that meeting. They had their own thoughts. It blows the group wide open. And now the Marines have beaten 2 out of 3 in the group. And it means that this group might go down to the wire.
And it proves that you can never count Marines out. When you're talking about Immortals and how they could just easily be out of the group, you have to beat the Marines, and that should never have been an afterthought. This is a team that came to play. 3 of the picks they picked in this game haven't been picked by anyone else in the group stage. Playing against Marines is like playing against no other team.
Now, the only caveat we can give, because this should be a time to celebrate the Marines, it was game 1 after they had a lot of time to prep. You will have to wait and see in their back 2 games, was this everything? Do they have more? Because this strategy, I imagine, will be target banned by their next opponent. You don't need to give up everything. Maybe just the cane, because the power farming meant a lot.
But we also have to remember that even if you have time to react to them, it's on the day. Previously, you got to see what they were pulling out, and you have a night to drill lane swaps. But now, if you're Fnatic, and you're playing them again, do you say, we should talk about Urgot, or do you talk about playing Immortals or playing Longju? Because those are games they have to prep beforehand.